So the essence of this video is simply to show you how to make a beautiful poster that you can take to an international conference and display your work to a global audience. If that's you, sit back and relax as I walk you through how you can use PowerPoint to do this very easily. So don't worry about the poster that I'm creating. I'm going to leave a link for you to download the template of this poster that I've made so that you can use it even as a start-off point to begin to create your own poster. So when you are trying to design a poster for your conference, the first thing to do is to find the dimension of the poster that you need. And in this case, we are going to use a typical dimension that is very commonly used in these conferences, and that is the A0. And the dimension of the A0 poster is 119 in the width and 84 in the height. So here we are in PowerPoint. So if I just delete, I select that and delete, I'm going to go straight to the design tab, and under that you've got the slide size, and then you have to customize the size because the traditional sizes are not always enough. So if you go here and then you go to custom, under custom, the width of this material, this poster will be 119 because I'm using the A0, and then the height in cm will be 84 cm. So and then we click OK. So and it doesn't really matter. So this is the typical dimension of the poster that we're going to use. I like to put some sort of background to this image, background color. So I'm going to switch this to something a bit bluish, but this is a very strong blue color. So I'm going to fade it in a bit and just leave it to something a little bit, just to give it some texture, some beauty behind it. So that's the first thing we want to do. So we've got a poster that looks like this. Then we need to divide it into a structure that makes sense to us. So I'm going to go to, again, the insert tab under shapes. I'm going to use this triangle, this rectangle thing, and then basically I'll put the first top end, what I want to put at the top, leave some edges around the system. And this is a very strong color, so under my shape fill, maybe I can use a green color, and then I format the shape. And again, I want to reduce the intensity of that green just to make it a little bit lighter green. So that's fine. And then this will be the banner of my poster. Then I press and hold Shift Control, drag that to the end, and just make this to be quite small, and that could be my conclusion section. And then the next thing I will do is still pressing down Shift and Control, select that and drag it down, and then you get into this state. So I'm going to just make it a little bit of this size. So this would be what will represent my different columns that I'm going to present my data in. So I press down Shift and Control, get back here, press down Shift and Control, get back here. So they're a little bit bigger than required. So we've got all of them. So okay. So what I could do is to select all three of them and then go to Align and tell it to distribute horizontally equally. So the spaces in between are okay. Okay, so we've got a nice layout to the system. I want the second column to be a little bit nice, different color. So I'm going to switch it to something probably a bit like purple, but I'm going to again reduce the intensity of that color. All right, so we've got a layout that looks good for this kind of work. If you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Please do subscribe to this channel and leave me a comment within the comment section so that I'll know what you're interested in or what you're currently working on, so I can help you as part of your academic journey. I also make videos on computational modeling. So if you're interested in that, please do subscribe to this channel. So when contents like this are made, you'll be the first to see it. But before you start putting things on this poster, I will advise you to actually plan out what you want to put on this poster before time. So if you look at what I've got here, so this is a Microsoft Word document where I've provided the title of the poster, the name, my supervisor, the background, some information about the background, the aims and the objectives, the project design or methodology that I want to adopt, my implementation, how I'm going to go about doing that, sort of the information, and then some results. And then even at the end, you have some conclusions that go with that data. So it makes sense to plan out your poster content ahead of time before you start creating your poster. So now we've planned it out. The first thing we want to do then is to put this title. So I'll copy that title and then I go back to my PowerPoint slide and I want to add a title. So I'll click on this and you click outside and then basically paste the information you want. and then you bring it into the middle. And we need to increase the size of that to maybe 36 or even more than that. So let's try 60. So you want a very big title, so we can even make it much bigger right at the center, and it makes sense probably if you have it across 2 lines. So, and then that's that, and then we'll center it. So this is what you'll find here as the title. I'll click Ctrl B to make it bold. So we've got a nice title to the system. Then we'll do what we've done before. So I basically need to create right outside, and then maybe my author, and again we'll drag that information in here. So who are the authors of this document? Again, you want to make it a little bit big, so I'm going to say, okay, maybe myself, Michael Okereke, with my email, so my email, and then I also want to put my supervisor, so professor, student, and then while pressing Ctrl and Shift down, I'll go down to this column and then say my university, so university. So typically this will be enough. If you have other authors that are contributing to the work, again, you want to provide as much information. So we're already getting the top end of the poster looking like it's supposed to be. You will need to also bring in the logo of your university, and also maybe the conference organizer. It makes sense to also include their logo within the work. So we're going to insert that. So I'll put in the insert, and so basically this is the logo of my university in this instance. So you can make it a little bit smaller so that it fits nicely into that environment. This is an e-commerce conference, and so we're going to bring in the logo of this conference. So whatever your conference is, so again, so we can make it a bit smaller. So we have the university and the conference logo, and the top end of the poster looks absolutely fine. And then we can then go and begin to include what we have in the middle here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably select the title, press down Shift Control and drag it to this space, and then call this my background. Okay, so this will be the first entry. And usually this background, it looks a bit dull. We want to add some context, some beauty, some excellence to it. And so I'm going to do some things to make it a little bit interesting, because part of designing your poster is also making it a little bit more excellent. So if I go back here, I'm going to use, so the parallelogram, I'm going to use the parallelogram tool. So I'm going to put it around just to give some context to what we have there. So I'm going to select this and say bring to the front. And then I'll probably want to change the color of that text so that it becomes white. So I'll go there and make it white. So that background is fine. And I could change the color to something a little bit darker that way. So we could look at a different color, maybe a darker blue color. So that looks fine. And so what we can do just to add some text to it, so I could drag this just to make it a little bit interesting. So that's fine. Now I want to add some more things to it. So I'll press down Shift and Control and drag to create this, and then I'll drag all the way back. Okay, so I want to sort of have a fading effect. So I'm going to duplicate this, press down Shift Control, select those two, duplicate again. So we've got something that looks like a fading effect. So I'll leave the first one to be faded to 75%. So under the transparency here, I'll leave this at only a transparency of 25. And then the next one to it, I'll leave this to a transparency of 50%. And then the next one, a transparency of 75%. And then finally, this one, a transparency of 100% transparency. Okay, so we could select all of that, and then I want to take away the outline. So I'll basically say no outline. And then the same thing applies here. I don't want an outline to this as well. So you begin to see something that looks a bit interesting. So I'll select all and create control group. Okay, so we have everything looking the way it's supposed to be right at the top. So I've got a nice background text for the first entry that is in the system. So all these bits, I could select them and just probably increase the intensity a bit. So I'll keep that, and then I think I want to lock them. So I'll lock them so that they remain in place throughout this next stage. So this is my background. I remember I have a text for my background. So again, I'll drag this to this location, Control, pressing down Control, and then make this to be about 35. So then what is my project background? I select this project background and then I Control V and paste it inside there. Okay, so make that 35. So we've got the first entry here. Maybe if we can make it 32. So we've got the first entry there, which is so we can just focus on that. And then the next thing we want here is the aim and the objective. When we get to this stage, so we ungroup that, and then we'll just select. So I'm going to right click here and lock this background, so I could select. So we group this, and then we can move it out, and then we expand on this so that it just gets as far as we want it to be. Make sure they line up, and then we could call this our aims and objectives. Okay, so the aims and objectives are in place, so we can group all that as well. And we'll now drag this text down here, and we'll take the aims and objectives as well and Control O and do paste special. So we go and do paste special. Under paste special, unformatted text, so that paste special goes in there. And then here we get our project methodology, so we can just call it methodology. Okay, so move the methodology down. If we want to line it up as well, so you ungroup the system, and then you drag this back, and then you drag this also back so that it lines up nicely around it. So you can press down Shift to make sure that they're lining up properly. And then we can take this text down here, and within our methodology we can select what we have. So basically we'll select all of that, Control Alt E S to bring in paste special. So we've got that. So we then want to put the flowchart there. So we'll select the flowchart and create copy, and then we'll paste the flowchart in there. Okay. Okay, so this way we've created the first column, and I can just unlock that region and basically take out the edge. I'll tell it I don't want any. So now we have a first column that looks nice without any edge, and everything looks fine in that column. So the next thing, we'll take this and then drag it, Control Alt, and then drag it into, pressing down Control, drag it into this location, and this will be the entry for project implementations. So project implementation, so Control Alt to select, Alt ES to get, and then basically we got that. So we then need to do what we did before. So I'll Control and say I want to ungroup everything here, move this, pressing down Shift to the end, and then drag this also very close, and then we open this up, and then so basically we've got our project implementation centralized, and then it's too far, so just to make it a bit tight. So we can take this Control, pressing down Control, I get it into that location, and then this is what we have under our project implementation. So Alt ES, so that's the top end of our project implementation. Then we'll collect this, Control C to copy and paste it in here, and then we'll make sure that it fills this space as expected. So that's the setup of the model. And then the next thing we have here is the structural parameters. So again, we'll drag this into the location, the next bit, and we'll copy that information, structural parameters, Alt ES to give you the bit. Okay, so that's the second bit, and then we'll copy this and we'll paste here. So again, we have already created the document in the Word document. We're simply populating the profile. The other things that we could work on, the boundary condition for this model. So we've got a boundary condition here, so we can position the boundary condition here. This is how the model with its boundary condition, and we select that text. Okay, so we select the text for boundary condition that is here, and then we'll put it into this environment, Alt ES, and then that becomes our text. And then there is this last information about the stent material model, so we can take this text and put in here. So copy that and then paste in that environment. So we could just, we've also got a graph here. which we can copy and paste in that location. Okay, so we've got our graph here. So what we see in the second location is essentially what's going to happen in the model. So the same thing will apply here. So we can take this, just the top end, and then we'll drag it, press down Control and Shift, drag into this case, and then we have the first result we've got in this model. So under our result, key results, so we can select that. So but we may have to make some changes here. So Alt ES. So we've got a lot of information here. So we're going to have to enlarge our banner. So move this banner to the beginning, and then probably drag that one all the way to the end. So make sure that we're using every part of our banner to the end here. And then we'll move the banner to this end and this banner to this. So what we're going to do is to make this text a bit smaller. All we need to do is to group them. So we can work on this third region by populating with the information we have. So the first one is the 6/10 materials. So we just take this text and put in here. So we'll capture that, Control Alt ES, and then that will give you the text that you need as space special. So we paste that text there, and then we'll get our image, and we'll put the image as well here. So making sure that it takes it's very visible for you to see. So the next thing we have here is the other component. So we'll basically collect the text here and then drag this text into this location. To explain what we have, now we'll do Alt ES to get space special unformatted text, and then we get the contour plots as well, position it fully in that space. So the next thing is another key value, model values and ranking. So we are going to probably select what we have here, press down Control and Shift, and then we put it here and basically say model values and rank. And within this model values and ranking, so we've got data here, we've got also data here. So we can collect this and paste, but probably not all of it will be needed. So we'll basically just enlarge it, and then maybe just one part of the value because we don't have enough space. So maybe this first part is more important. Okay, so we'll put that here, and then this other one, we'll collect that and paste it into that window as well. And then there's some text that goes with that, so we can put that text at the top, Alt ES. So the last thing we can do is probably take this and put under our conclusion, call this conclusion. And like we've been doing before, we can just take one of these text and paste it into the conclusion environment, put them all there, and then look at what the conclusion says. So we can take all the conclusion information, go in there, Control Alt, select Alt ES to do space special, and we have everything in our conclusions all there. So another thing that is also important is that you may also want to include a QR code in this location code, so that people who want to learn a bit more about the work can get your QR code in that location. So what I can then do here is, if I go back and unlock all these in backgrounds, if I unlock them, and then I can say, okay, I don't want the outline, and the same thing here, I don't want the outline. And the same thing at the base, I also don't want the outline. So no outline. Even the top end, I could tell it I also don't want the outline. So we've got a nice layout of the results with everything that we require. And this is a typical representation of a poster that you can create. And this is what I've been able to show you here. So you've got a nice title that is bold and clear for people to read. And everything looks fine. So you've got a columnar representation. The sections are bold and clearly represented, and then the text are there. There are a lot of images in the text, and everything looks good. And you can even go ahead and create a QR code for yourself. If you want to create a QR code to use in imposing on this poster, this is a video that I've made that shows you towards the end of it how to create this QR code, and also how you can use Microsoft Word to create a poster. But if you're also interested in making even your poster much more elegant and you want to use a professional software to do this, Canva is the tool, and this is a video I've made that shows you how to use Canva. Thank you for your interest in this video, and I'll see you in the next video.